Welcome back to the Author's Edge. I am your host, Allison Lane, and I am your Sherpa through marketing yourself, which you know you have to do. And if you're one of those people who's like, I don't know why I'm not getting the opportunities I'm supposed to because my visibility doesn't match my expertise, this is for you. Especially this burns when you see your mentee on stages that you should be on. So many experts are used to sharpening their craft and keynoting the industry association conference, which is like volunteer work. That is just you teaching other people how to be you. That they're bamboozled, kerfuffled, just flabbergasted when the New York Times isn't calling them for quotes. But AJ Kumar, you're going to help us understand how it is that experts are not being drawn into the spotlight since they're the ones with the knowledge and the experience and the street cred. They should be the ones being pulled out.
Ultimately, it's that feeling of being an imposter. It's that feeling of if I actually talk about this and people hear it, see it, they're going to reject it or that they're wrong. And I think people, especially experts, are so deep into their own world, their own ocean of their field that it's more comfortable like swimming in that than trying to talk to people out in the real world.
How can an expert have imposter syndrome? Is it a byproduct of there's always some other validator or gatekeeper, the one that says, now you get tenure or now you get promoted? Do you think that's where that comes from?
A lot of what you're talking about is full of triggers. And I think ultimately, I call it Volt, the virus of limited thinking. And
Oh
I
my
think
God.
as you grow up, you have all of these instances that happen. When people say the word trauma, they think of the worst case scenario of things, but trauma could be different for a kid. If somebody like says something at school when you're like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old or whatever, it may be like, oh, you're a silly butthead. But at that moment, that kid, relevant to him, that's an extreme moment. And then as you grow older, then you might be afraid for somebody to call you that silly butthead. But I think that's ultimately what happens, that when you become an author, when you become an entrepreneur, a business owner, that is like the ultimate personal development because you're essentially putting yourself out there and your growth mirrors your success. As you expand and as you go beyond what it is that you're capable of doing, so does your business and your success.
What we're really looking at today is what it takes to create the kind of presence that people remember and they seek out and they can't ignore. And that's new for folks who have had to claw and earn their way to becoming experts. The problem is that they're experts in a silo, in a very limited circle of influence. The people who know about you are other people who work in that field. You might be a highfalutin figure inside of radiology because all the other radiologists look up to you. But truly, you could be a seasoned advocate for patient rights as it relates to your experience in healthcare. That is a leap that only you can make. So in your new book, Guru Inc., which is best title, you talk about how being the best at what you do isn't a automatic translation to being the best at getting people to see it. Can you talk a little bit about why that happens and how to fix it?
It's not about being the best at what you do. It's being the best at being seen for what it is that you do. And that is that difference, that you could have really something really good, but if nobody knows about it, then no one's going to be able to experience it. And historically, whether you're an author, you're a business owner, you have a book or you have a product and you got to promote it. Promoting is the main thing. You got to make people aware of what it is that you have. And traditional media had a lot of barriers, a lot of limits, a lot of gatekeepers and restrictions. And it was very hard and challenging. And new media that has really grown in the last decade or so is what is allowing everyone and anyone to have this brand new opportunity. All of what we're talking about, whether it's old media, traditional media, or new media, is about how you're able to communicate what it is that you're doing. It's all about positioning. It's about perception, how people see you. So if you come across as this person that is speaking about this really complicated subject matter, not many people are going to understand it. And you may make your way to some spots of being noticed, but it's not going to translate. The message isn't going to fly, if you will. I work with clients that are experts in their fields. They're world leaders. One client I have right now is a guy named Dr. Ben Lynch. He's a world leading expert in genetics, epigenetics, and talking about how your genes affect your health. And it's a really super complex subject. And we're helping him take his expertise and making that language of what he's saying a lot more accessible. We just launched one of his YouTube videos, and all of a sudden it's the highest performing video because we are taking what he's saying and making it so that more people could understand it. Because the thing that people don't understand is that they do know they need social media as a way to communicate their message, because it's the most powerful medium today to get in front of people. Social media is connecting billions and billions of people. Virtually everybody on earth is on social media, which is a whole new reality, right? Because when people see things on social media, that is what paints a picture of what reality is. But the thing that most people don't understand is that social media is not in the business of giving you your ideal customer. Social media is in the business of mass satisfaction. And it's a game that you got to play. And most people don't realize that it's a game. And most people just are trying to take their ideas and post it and just see what sticks. But there's a game to it, there's a strategy to it. And that really is the major opportunity today.
And it's the thing that is the energy squelcher for a lot of experts who are like, yes, and I'm going to start posting on social. They're posting on Instagram to their 800 friends and family. And then they realize, oh, nobody's sharing. Yeah, that's because your cousin does not care about your expertise because you're talking to the wrong people. Then you hit on something about your audience. Social media is not your marketing director. You have to be in the right places. So when experts get started and then they hit that barrier, what helps them break through to understanding the game?
When it comes to any game, there's three components. Whether you're playing basketball or football or chess, there's goals, there's moves, and there's obstacles. Goals are essentially what you're trying to achieve. And a lot of people have this thinking of social media being, oh, I'm going to get more followers. And then they start investing this time, they get some followers here and there, but it doesn't translate. And then they wonder why what happened. Moves is like what you're actually going to do to achieve those goals. And obstacles are things like the algorithm or even psychological obstacles. And really, it's understanding that the goal isn't to just get more followers. It's understanding that on social media, the goal is to create attention. The attention is the currency of our modern day. And that attention is what you could ultimately monetize. Moves are like the different ways that you're going to be creating content and realizing that social media isn't just a place where you're posting and marketing. Social media is mirroring television. And when I say mirroring television, I'm not talking about, oh, you're going to be creating shows like 5 people sitting in a coffee shop and you have Friends and you have How I Met Your Mother and you have Seinfeld. I'm talking about creating a social first show where people see you and there's some kind of familiarity that people could watch and see over and over again. I've worked with a lot of different clients. One is a guy named Non-Toxic Dad, Warren Phillips, who we helped him grow from like 6,000 followers to over 1 million followers. But not even the followers that matter, but the fact that he's getting 50 million views across all of his channels. With that, we essentially developed a show format where He's in grocery stores, he's at Costco, and he's talking about why certain things are toxic for you and alternatives. And it becomes this reoccurring show that people start to learn from and expect. And that's what it takes today. It's realizing that you got to create your own show on social media that allows you to demonstrate your expertise in an entertaining way. Because the challenge with experts is that they kind of get too much into like professor mode and trying to like teach. Social media isn't a platform for you to just teach things raw. When you watch movies and you learn something from them, you're primarily getting entertainment value before you're like extracting the insights from what it is that you're watching. And best movies have that. I use examples like Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2, really powerful movies that are designed for children, but at the same time, they're really valuable for adults as well, because you start to watch it and you start to learn things about yourself that you didn't realize in a way that was presented with as outstanding storytelling. And you may not be creating a Inside Out or a Pixar movie on your social media, but you could learn from storytelling from those types of movies and shows that you can incorporate with how you talk about your expertise.
A lot of debut authors like to introduce their book when they have to answer, like, what's your book about? They dive super deep, super fast into it's about my 7-point method, blah, blah, blah. It's so much. What is your book about needs to be like the one-liner on Netflix. Your methodology of how experts need to think of themselves as having a personal media company, if they just look for inspiration outside of their peers,
Yeah.
maybe they'd see it.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. So from 2012 to 2015, I had a joint venture with a woman named Kimberly Snyder, who's an author of a book called Beauty Detox. And she had a book, people liked it, people enjoyed it. She had a blog. It was getting about 30,000 visitors a month. And then I came from the background of working with corporate brands and helping corporate brands with SEO strategies. That essentially just means that when people in Google, then a certain company would come up. We essentially applied what we were doing with the corporate brands into a person, into a human. And this is the first time I essentially endeavored into building a personal brand versus a corporate brand. And then by doing so, we took our blog from 30,000 visitors a month to 500,000 visitors a month, having all this traffic on this website where she had these blogs. And the blogs were designed in a way where it wasn't just teaching people about plant-based nutrition, which is what she was an expert in, but it was telling it through storytelling in a way that's a little bit more insightful. And we then captured the people that went to the website by offering them free recipes or guides. And that allowed us to collect emails. And then we built an email list over 100,000 people. So then by the time her second book came out, we had an email list. We did storytelling through emails. We really primed them up. We did all of this credibility and all the media appearances, all the things that she was doing, so that by the time the second book came out, we positioned it to be a New York Times bestseller. And it became the #2 New York Times bestselling book. And then the next 2 books after that for her also hit New York Times bestseller. And that's not a easy thing. And it's a difficult thing to do. And it requires a lot of work. It may not happen with your first book, but it potentially could happen with your second or your third. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that I helped her build what I call a personality-driven media company. A media company is essentially a company where the person is the product. That's what the media is. And then you use the distribution channels that are available. At that time, we were getting all this traffic from Google as well as social media. At that time, it wasn't about video like it is today. Fast forward to now, we're in 2025, and we now have better internet speeds, better technology, better things that are available to us that allows for video to be communicated super fast. And we have this shift in consumer behavior to where we watch vertical videos, which if you think about 10 years ago, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it's like, what the heck? A video that's vertical is just an odd thing.
Yeah.
So as consumer behavior shifts, it's still essentially the same thing. You're creating content, except it's not for a 30-minute show or a 60-minute show. You're creating content for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, sometimes 10 minutes, right? Depending on the platform that you're on. And that you got to understand that this is essentially the essence of my whole book, Guru Inc., is that your expertise means nothing until the world recognizes it. So your goal is to essentially position yourself in a niche where you're creating this content, and then over time you become this go-to person so that you then become the undeniable authority in your space.
With having personality driven content, I think a big mistake people make is that they wait until their book is coming out to start doing that. They don't realize that they can be doing that in the meantime. Even when you're working full time, even while you're managing the emergency department at the hospital, you can do selfie videos on the way in to say, hey, this is what I know I'm going to see today. You can weave it in a way that it's easy for you. You don't have to stop doing what you're doing that you've been called to do to create a business. No matter what, you are the brand. Your book can't speak for you. People have to know about you before they can buy your book, which is different when you're writing fiction. But when you're writing nonfiction, publishers won't be interested in your book unless they know they can Google you. You are going to have to show up and have a digital presence. For all those people who say, I don't really do social media. Okay, enjoy your cave that you live in, because that is a nutty thing. That seems lonely and also dark. When someone wants to just get started with their social media, how can they get started in a way that is achievable and doesn't require them to quit their job and go all in? What should they do first?
I think the easiest way to do it is to use AI to help you script short videos. That's like the easiest way to start. You could use products like Claude or ChatGPT, which are fairly affordable for what they're doing for one person, and utilize that as a way to take some of your ideas and concepts and turn them into 30, 45, 60-second videos, and then use a teleprompter app. I come across a lot of people. Sometimes they're super world-class experts, but then when they talk, they yap and then they keep going, whereas you got to be a lot more concise. And it's something that you practice and you learn. That's just how it is with any skill. You suck at it until you get good at it. I got a handle on this. Non-Toxic Dad, for example, he was just talking about so many really complex subjects. So we'd help him script it and get it so that it's more concise and that there's one small insight that somebody could take. The problem that experts have is that they speak in a way that is like cognitive overload. And when a person hears like too many things, it makes them think. And people on social media don't want to think. They just want to be there. They want to be entertained. They want to feel good. So you got to do it in a way where get a script. There's teleprompter apps that you could use. There's one called Teleprompter Pro. Again, it's fairly affordable. It might be like $80 a year for the pro version. Use that as a way to create content. You could also get video editors. You could get affordable video editors if you'd like. You could post it a little bit more raw and just use TikTok or Instagram's little editing apps, which are also fairly user-friendly. And you record in batches of 5, 6, 7 videos at a time. So that way you carve out a few hours and do it. It is hard in the beginning. You will have these technical barriers and that will make you want to quit. But just know that happens to everyone. And that's the main reason why most people quit, because you get frustrated. You're like, annoying. I got other stuff to do that's really important. I totally get it. I've been there. I understand. My clients all go through it. That's why they hire a company like mine to help them not have to worry about that thing. Unless you're trying to invest 60, 100 grand, 200 grand a year in somebody else doing it for you, then you do got to do it for yourself. But a lot of people do, and they're very successful from it. And then at some point they build their own team that helps them do all these things. But it's important to just get over the technical barrier, use a teleprompter app, use AI to script what it is that you want to talk about, and then post, and then learn from the things that you're posting.
People think that they don't have time to do this, but I guarantee you, you are sitting in your car somewhere waiting for someone. And one of my first series of videos was done in the car in a parking lot while my daughter was getting her teeth cleaned. And the dentist takes an hour. And I was like, I don't want to sit in there for an hour. I was somehow felt indignant about something that I had seen. I was like, I got to time out. If I see you doing this again, I will come to your house and flick you in the forehead. Please don't do that. And then I was like, oh, here's another tip. Like that made me think of tip number 2. And it's not like I had a script and I hadn't planned it, but inside of an hour, I had 8 or 9 different videos on my phone. Not even good lighting, and it was raining. But I had Descript, and I will put my Descript link in the show notes because this thing is click a couple buttons and boom, now I have a series of marketing tips when you want to market yourself and you're like, you don't want to have to do it yourself, but you're not ready to hire somebody. You do have to have some methods that you follow. Follow these methods. And when you're ready, work with AJ. For the love of Pete, you got to start somewhere. And you can't start with your focus group of 1.
Mhm.
You can't have the idea and then run it by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I think it's really important for anyone in any endeavor, any professional endeavor that they're in, that the faster you could get out your ideas that you're like cooking in your mind, thinking, oh man, this is so good. It's the faster you get it out there, the better, because you want your ideas to fly. And that's what social media does, is that when you do it the right way, when you package it up, because it doesn't matter how smart you are, there's lots of smart experts out there. And most smart experts suck at social media. That's my niche. I'm in the niche of smart experts who suck at social media. It's because it's more about packaging. It's how you package
Right.
your expertise into these like smaller video formats, these 30-second formats, 60-second formats, 10-minute, 20-minute, right? These are people that talk for hours, for days, but then it's like, how do you compress valuable ideas in that period of time? So that's the art. The art is how you package your ideas and make them in a way where it's essentially accessible to a wider group of people that are interested in your topic, as well as insightful for the core group of people that are the types of people that become your customers, right?
Yeah.
You're essentially creating content in a way where there's like a through line. It's an art. It's not easy. It's hard. So it's like there's this low barrier to entry, which why it feels like people could just do it. And then they have these high expectations thinking it's going to be really amazing. But it's the same as becoming a real estate agent, right?
Everything's hard if you're doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Everything's hard when you don't know how to do it and when you don't have a guide. What you're doing is taking these experts who don't know how to do social media and you're helping them create content that's personal. And that's what people aren't used to. They're used to their idea being heralded on the basis of the idea being a good one because they're around other people who are in their field and they are all reading each other's white papers or liking each other's professional article because they're already embedded in that content and in that world. There's a talent to someone who could say, I know people should care about this, but I'm going to help them get there. When I think about somebody who does that, I think of Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is the executive director of the Hayden Planetarium in Chicago and social media savvy, but he also shows up as a freaking Emmys and he's just hilarious. And I'll give you an example. He and Snoop Dogg follow each other on TikTok and Instagram. Neil deGrasse Tyson was poking fun at people who were super excited about the supermoon. He was like, people, the supermoon is like an extra large pizza instead of just a large pizza. Just know that in the world of astrophysicists, this is what we see. So maybe slow your roll. First of all, I learned something. I think about that all the time whenever I hear about the supermoon. And he made it relatable. Thank you. And done. And if you can do that, then you can help people understand something that you care about and you can show up where they are, which is there was really no reason for him to share that on Instagram or maybe Twitter when it was Twitter, but he didn't say it amongst his peers because they would have been like, obviously, Neil, we all also went to MIT. wherever he went. And he cared enough to help people understand who don't have his expertise or background.
Yeah. He's the perfect kind of guy, even like a Bill Science guy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I talk about this thing called the Guru Ladder, and it's basically I identified just anyone in any kind of professional endeavor is essentially climbing up this ladder. It's similar to the concept of a corporate ladder, but when you're a professional, the bottom of the rung is being a generalist, where you're
Yep.
starting to really get an understanding of your field. Then next, you really refine your expertise and become a specialist, and then you hone in on a specific area. And then when you get to that next level where you're starting to create your own thing, like you have pure youth studies, you start to create a book, you reach this authority level. And it's like what you said, you could be around all these other authorities and you have these white papers and you're reading with each other and it's good, but you are speaking a lot of technical information. The level beyond that, the one above that, I call it the guru, is then becoming that go-to person in their niche. They're like the cool kids. So when you go to an industry conference, they're at the lunch table that everybody wants to come hang out at. And then beyond that, I call the guru's guru. This is like when you become the Tony Robbins of your niche, the Neil deGrasse Tyson, the Bill Nye, the Oprah's, the Ellens. We basically reach this pinnacle to where you're essentially representing your niche to the masses. And that means you're able to talk about what it is that you do on a spectrum of really deep technical expertise to making it accessible for the widest possible group of people that'd be interested in it.
And usually that person isn't the world's foremost expert.
Yeah.
I had a client once, I said, we have to rewrite your anchor bio and your anchor messaging because you think that your bio should speak for itself. And nobody wants to read 300 words. Your bio needs to deliver in one line that you are a foremost expert. And she actually argued with me and she said, no, the foremost expert is my mentor, but he lives in the Alps and he is 92. Seriously? You're going to say you're not willing to use the moniker expert because you know the one expert on the globe is your mentor and you think it's a disservice to him to claim your expertise? Expert is something that you have to claim. I don't care if you just say you're the top banana.
That's true.
That internal shift that lets people see you as the authority that you already are, it's internal because there's no PhD for visible authority.
Yeah. It's like the idea that the difference between somebody that's an authority that goes into becoming a guru in their niche, it's like you got to take the discipline that you've taken to become really great at what you do and then transfer that over to other domains, even being a lot more charismatic on camera, like camera presence are skill sets that you could develop and that you need because again, it's not being the best at what you do. It's about being the best at being seen for what it is that you do. And that's the world we live in where it's about what people are watching. And if you could get in front of people by leveraging algorithms that are essentially designed to give people what they want and what they're interested in, you're essentially reverse engineering that. You're creating content and you're talking about your expertise in a way where somebody will be excited to discover you.
They'll be delighted.
Yeah.
But you do have to be interesting.
If you want people to come to you, then you got to create a way for people to perceive you online to where there's like a demand to wanting to be in your presence. And when people become online famous or social media famous, that happens. Before it used to be television. That's why everybody wants to be on TV, so that when you go to places to see parts and you could get into front of line. That's what everybody wants. That's why everybody wants to do this kind of stuff. So if you could create that same effect with social media, you just got to put your energy into it and make your ideas fly.
That is so good. So this is your invitation. If you're thinking, I am an expert and I am a big deal in my sphere and I want to go bigger, AJ is inviting you. It's time for you to go bigger. If you needed permission, AJ, will you give them permission?
You could do it.
You can do it. You should do it. This is the time. There's no other time. No one's coming to beg you, but we are. So if you're thinking, I don't know if I'm ready, you're ready. You are. You've graduated to readiness. Enjoy. Take the steps and get Guru Inc. It gives you the mechanics of what to know, what to avoid. But that action, AJ, that you said, a formula, create the one or two formulas so that you're not constantly creating different types of content. Can you give us the one tip to landing on that formula for yourself?
Yeah. It's like when you think about it, you want to create a show. A show has like a similar set, character, there's some kind of format, there's some kind of editing style, there's some kind of plot. These are like the elements of what is part of the through line of a show. And it's not that you're going to have the final end all be all immediately. You watch other people. I have a client named Nikki Haskell. She's 84 years old. We have a show with her that where she talks about things I know in my 80s that I wish I knew in my 20s. And it's a reoccurring format that we could do over and over again, where the container of that video, things I know in my 80s that I wish I knew in my 20s, is something that we repeat hundreds and hundreds of times over. The actual topic within that show changes. Sometimes it could be about romance. Sometimes it could be about work. And there's a variety of different topics within that one could talk about. Your goal is to figure out that. To get to that, you do need to essentially come up with concepts, pilot an episode. You could model other social media influencers because anybody that's really popular online has like a reoccurring format that they do. And then you could do what they do and adapt it to your own niche.
That's the best inspiration too, getting inspiration outside of your genre, outside of your wheelhouse. To everybody listening, stop waiting to be discovered. You're here, you're ready, and you can decide that you belong and start building the presence that you deserve.
You don't have to wait till you get discovered. Every piece of content that you create increases your chances of being discovered. If you're putting out more and more pieces and then you're learning from it and making it better every time, your odds just drastically increase.
All right, AJ, where should people find you?
You could check out my book on Amazon called Guru Inc. You could also find me on Instagram, AJ the Digital Maestro.
Got it. Thank you so much. And listen, thank you for being here for yourself. This is you devoting time to you. Time exists. We can't make it. We devote the time to do the things. And you're devoting time to make you your very best marketer. That's what I want for you. I cannot wait to see what you do next.